Welcome. This is Just in Our Minds. Welcome back. Thanks for listening. So today, this is one of my new friends, fitness aficionado. Like, this guy is awesome.
He was only an ordinary man, but he did
It's great to have you on the podcast today. It's
Thank you,
Surba.
Justin.
Surba.
Surba.
Sorry. I always want to say Surba because I own a Subaru. And it's the beginning letters of that. And it just gets stuck.
Hey, listen.
Surba. And then it's Surba Foster?
Surba Boima Patrick Tucker.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. The Russian names today. Tucker.
I'm happy to be here, man. I've been excited for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's good. Episode number 33, synchronistic. So to get started, other than us just meeting each other and this guy being a savage, you are, what is your age?
I'm 52 years old.
52. That is not in dog years.
It's intentional, man.
Yeah.
I love the age. I love the wisdom that's come with it.
Yep.
I love the slowness of my mind. You know, I think about maybe even go back 20 years, my 30-something-year-old self, just anxiety and didn't know that all of my habits were really sourced from not having control in my life. And as a 52-year-old, I recognize I just don't have control. So just let go, just chill.
And I think that comes with, like presence and peace of mind. Because that's what you're an individual like myself that's not, I don't think we're necessarily here for material possessions. It's more so finding the peace of mind and watering the grass we have rather than one in everybody else's yard.
Yeah, listen, if there's a line and it's long, I go to another line. I don't follow other people's paths. So that's why I'm here.
Somebody asked, like, what is your, like, for mine too, is like, sometimes I feel like you do a zigzag through the path. You kind of go through, you're like, oh, those are some cool footsteps, and go back, find it. Like you're saying, you make your own path.
I make my own paths.
Mm-hmm.
I find previous maps or guides as suggestions.
100%.
You know, I was talking to a friend I think we were talking about a trail that we had done and people's comments about the trail, they assessed. Was it hard? Was it difficult? I don't care because I don't know what how many miles do you have on your feet on those trails? Are you prepared for them? Was it intentional? So I take on challenges, be it trails or ventures in life, as just opportunities for growth.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's difficult. It's just what your mind says it is.
Right. The journey is the destination.
The journey is the destination. Always.
Yeah. That's something I'll pray for in the morning. It's just like, keep me being the student.
Yeah.
I need my ego, but not all day.
That ego thing will get you though.
Yeah.
You ever walk into the gym and you just don't feel it?
Feel the ego or feel
No,
like the
you don't
gym in
feel
general?
like being there.
Oh, dude. All this week.
You sat in the parking lot and you were like, okay, just open the door.
Yep.
Just grab that bag and open the door. You can do this.
Yeah. As soon as you get your blood flowing.
Just get your blood flowing. Move. Smile at the person that walks past you in that parking lot.
Yep. 100%.
Right? Like sometimes it just takes that.
It does. I had somebody almost hit me this morning too. And I'm like,
You bet.
it's early.
Yep.
Sun's not up. Got to be respectful. But they're on their phone.
Of course.
Like talking, I think. And, apparently they apologize. But one of those things that I'm like, all right, if this is, oh no, you woke up on the wrong side of your air-conditioned bed.
Right. With the roof over your head.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, you have the opportunity to know the difference between a full stomach and your ghrelin popping up and giving you that little hunger feeling.
You bet.
Yeah. So first world problems.
First world.
Get in there. Oh no, your super athletic body doesn't want to be here today.
Oh, you're tired because you were worried about, all of the things that are on your schedule for the day.
It's your sixth workout and it's Thursday.
Sure. Like, woe is me.
Yeah, exactly. But finding that center, it's great. And sometimes you need to have both sides, right? You have the polarities, the hermetic principles per se. Sometimes you need to feel what's below so you can rise above again.
Absolutely. I actually find, so I'm always in flow. Like I find a flow or I create it or I've curated it because I've set the intention for the month, for the week, for the day. But there are days where I'm exhausted, right? And I find that if I just start, you know, I do a band warm up or I smile at somebody, man, flow finds me. It just finds me. And today, when I saw you today earlier in the gym and I was running late, I had about 30 minutes to get in what should have been an hour workout. And I gave myself grace. And I'm like, Surba, you're going to do whatever it is you're going to do in these next 30-ish minutes and just sit with it. And it was great.
It gives you a chance to really tap in.
Yes.
You know, then you don't have to pee on all the fire hydrants for the day. You get the couple you need in. I'm going to get the green one, the blue one, and the purple one. I always get the red one.
You get the red one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I find that sometimes I'm wanting to pee on the fire hydrant and I don't know why. Right? I just not balanced. Something's off. But I'll tell you this, I passed by a guy on my way here from work and he was coming down the stairs and he said something to me that I think is probably the biggest compliment I've gotten today. He said, when I come back in another life, I want to be you.
Oof.
This is a 72-year-old guy that does handstands every day. And his life is great. He's retired, just got back from a trip to Alaska. And he told me that he wants to be me when he comes back. And I said, buddy, it's a pretty nice life you're going to get.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I'm grateful. But there are days where it's just like, I search for the flow. I search for the goodness. And really, it's very simple. Just go back to the basics, man. Smile 100%. At people.
Yep.
Have conversation. You know, chase him when you see him and you're like, I know that guy. I need to find out his story.
Yep, 100%. It's those, and for us too, as individuals, I think we could pick up on the aura and the presence of individuals on a different level. And
we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
So my quandary this week has been like, I see people's energies, right? I feel it. And I want to give what I call my superpower. And it's that energetic goodness that makes other people, when they walk away from me, feel better than the moment prior to. But there are gremlins out there, man.
I need your energy, you know, or he's like, you know, it's just, you have to listen to, you hear the words, certain people, even people that don't mean it. Like there's a couple people at EO or any gym in general, especially for us. That's why I have to switch gyms every once in a while, is because there's too much.
Once in a while. I do it every other day.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I like a pattern for a few months and then I'll switch back to.
You bet.
But yeah, it's that thing. It's like, oh, I needed that today, or I need this, or I'm glad that we need to talk. We this, and it's like, is it we? Is it me? Or is it you?
I walked past a guy hadn't seen in years, and definitely either in addiction, but I know he's a former addict, and he wouldn't let me walk past him. I recognized him. I wasn't sure, but in the moment, it was I walked past and then we both turned around and, you know, acknowledged each other and had a conversation. But I had to shake off that energy that wasn't complementary to the rest of my day. You know, it was going to be, so I have a word for people like that besides gremlin. I call them sieves. It's a Canadian term. A sieve is a net that has a hole in it, okay? So sieves go around the world searching for people like you and I who have this positive, unending energy, and they're fishing, they're grabbing, but they can't hold on to it because the net has these little frays that are broken. So they'll never fill their cup, you know? It's never filled, but there's an unending search for, hey, energetic people. Let me get some of that. And I have to keep him at bay as much as I can. It's a brittle,
unaware handle too, you know, like the everything.
It's broken.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a much better job in recognizing, giving just enough that they walk away still feeling enlightened and feeling better than they felt before. But I recognize that I can't give them everything I've got.
100%.
I'm exhausted after a conversation with someone like that.
There's a couple people there in general, that same thing. And I'm like, oh man, just got to brush it off. You do those like internal little tobacco ceremonies with yourself.
Actually, I trained a guy who I didn't recognize had this power about 20 years ago. And he would walk past me and simply just do that. And his name is Russ. And I asked him a couple years later, I'm like, why did you do that? I had to clear you of the negative energy of the people that you saw prior today, because I was heavy. So now I just do it to myself. I just clear it.
Yeah, dude, it's so powerful. And just even telling yourselves what you're doing and just having that energetic, I was just reading an article that talks about like how people can believe in Wi-Fi and all this other technology because it is what it is, but they don't believe in vibrational frequencies or anything else that vibrates higher than, third dimensional frequencies, fourth dimensional frequencies. It's wild.
They're in a matrix of things they can't control and can't explain, but yet that box is comfortable, right? I think all of that has to do with being able to be uncomfortable, not having an answer. And we are always searching for answers. And quite frankly, sometimes the question is all you need. Just ask the question and it's okay. But, in a culture of having to know and like wanting information, the news, right? Someone else dictating your information, we get lost and we stop believing in things that are, maybe a little wacky, a little kooky, a little witchcrafty, right? And we think that that's not for us. But when you explore and research about people who do amazing things because they tap into those energies, it's absolutely believable. I mean, Wi-Fi is great, Bluetooth is great, but so is someone sitting next to a human being that they love that's in a coma and they talk to them. And when that person wakes up from that coma, they were listening the entire time. That's energy.
It is. And the more studies coming out too on like your heart has more neurons than your brain, know, it's wild. Like it's cool to see the bell curve of Eastern and Western blend of whether it's just technology, it's which I still consider, and then if we even want to get deeper, the 3 times that the Library of Alexandria got burned down and we're missing a bunch of stuff.
Right.
There's these ancient advanced civilizations and things like that we can't even fathom what vibrational frequencies from these tuning forks and all these tools. But before I get too deep into that, it's just amazing that we are coming back around to this Eastern philosophy as well. Like the more than just pharmaceuticals and these things, we're going back to herbs and gut health and using a blend of both rather than one or the other.
I'll tell you, when I was younger, I lived in a country in West Africa called Sierra Leone. My parents are both from Sierra Leone. And it's a country that's a former British colony. And therefore, Christianity was brought to the continent. And traditional religions that relied on just deities, Islam was part of it as well, were present. And I remember as maybe a 5 or 6 year old, we went to some sort of Christian church. I can't tell you if it was, a Protestant or likely Protestant, if it was a former British colony. And following that service, my mom walked my brother and I up a mountain to an old lady who we would describe as like a witch, right? A witch doctor. And my mom had some sort of ailment. This woman asked her questions, then put a couple herbs together and said, take this. And it was the first time I experienced like a traditional faith and then a spiritual, herbal, organic. And I think in this day and age that we live in now, it's so much easier to combine those and it's so much more acceptable, right? Because traditional medicine says, let's not fix the problem, let's Band-Aid it, right? And in Eastern medicines, we look at like, what's the cause? Your gut's telling you something. We talk about our, gut instinct. Well, your gut has a brain. So let's figure out what's causing that issue instead of just having a prescription.
And that's just it. Because I feel like with Western, and I feel like it's coming around though, but with Western, you're looking through a microscope
Right.
rather than asking enough to see the whole.
A big picture, right? Flying over at 40,000 feet instead of, I see in my business, I'm a personal trainer by trade most hours of the day. And when I meet with someone, I ask them questions about their lifestyles. I ask them questions about the people in their household. I ask them questions about the things that they like to do, because often they come to me and they're wanting change, but their lifestyle, the people in their household, the activities that they choose are incongruent with what their goals are. So I have to get a big picture, and I always ask, like, what's the dream, right? Because people forget about those things when their lives are not congruent. They always say, well, I used to be able to, well, I was this. And in my business, I set a journey for them to reach whatever it is that's outlandish that they thought they could never do. One of my favorite type of client right now that I'm seeing a lot of is I have these Olympic caliber athletes. Okay, these are 12, 14-year-old swimmers, baseball players, you name it. And kids are limitless in their possibilities. But sometimes they're lost in what those potentials are, right? So I feed all of my Olympic caliber athletes the dream of a Los Angeles. It's the next Summer Olympics. And they all fit the paradigm of they're going to be at the age where they're at their best in that particular sport in 3 years. And to be part of that journey with someone that sees possibilities but understands this road is going to be difficult. It's going to be arduous. And then they still want to do it. Man.
You're their customato.
I'm it. I'm Cuss.
Yeah. The Mike, but you'll hopefully give them the off switch too. Unfortunately, Cuss was not able to do that with Mike.
Well, Cuss, it was one.
Yeah.
He saw a brutal warrior and he plugged into that.
It's a little different, but I just always think about that. I'm like, because it's not that he didn't want to, it's just he ran out of time, for himself.
Cuss was old when he met Mike. But, teaching kids these days because of technology and so many inputs and distractions, I teach them meditation. I've got goosebumps just saying that word. Teaching kids to slow their brains in an era and in an atmosphere where they're counting their Snapchat, what's the word? Their streaks.
Oh yeah, streaks, right? And followers.
Where the algorithm is saying, maintain a streak with this other human being electronically, as opposed to a streak of, hey, Justin, I saw you at the gym. I've seen you at the gym 5 days in a row. I love seeing you.
Right.
Instead of hashtag this, fire that. They mean nothing, right? Those are endorphin builders in a short period of time, and then sadness follows that. So I teach my kids meditation and envision, slowing their brain, but visioning how they want to perform. I was talking to a kid. This kid is like 6'7". He's skinny, but he's a breaststroker. At 13, he's 6'7". So he's
6'7".
I said what I said, man. The kid is going to be an absolute monster, and his hero is Phelps. So
makes sense.
Like, come on,
Phelps
now.
was like 6'5", right?
You bet.
He's a big guy.
You bet.
I played water polo in high school.
So
and
you understand
the Olympic level guys that came in, they were halfway bald Sasquatches. They were still hairy, huge guys. They all look like they could have been Russian or something.
You bet.
Huge.
But if you get them young enough understanding and believing in themselves, and then I impart the knowledge of the 50-ish years that I've had on this planet, kids who are open to it can achieve whatever they put their minds to. but I teach them to slow their brains down.
The parasympathetic state, it's not fight or flight.
No, but I mean, it takes any teenager, they're still 10 to 12 years away from having full development neurologically. But getting them to understand habits that allow them to access that flow state. We talked about it with this kid, where the lane is black everywhere around them and the only light is in their lane. No, nothing else matters. You hear nothing, you feel nothing, you're just performing. If you can do that as a child, like imagine what the possibilities are in your 20s, your 30s.
Tiptoeing right in front of the void.
Oh man, just touching it.
Yeah.
Wanting to touch it because you know like the journey to touch the void and that lesson that's created from it will impart progress and excellence the rest of your life.
I get this vision right now. It's almost like a Silver Surfer, and the void's like the pipe of the wave, and they're just like right in front of it.
So I learned the term when you're surfing is that you're in the green room.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say that I want to be in the green room as much as possible, and it's not your television green room, but it's that wave cresting over you that. If you're a surfer and you're in the green room, it means that you've just nailed the most perfect ride. And it's not that we ever get that perfect ride, but it's the search for it.
100%.
Right?
It's like Muhammad Ali calls it the dream.
The dream.
The dream realm or the dream.
And I don't know that enough of us find that space and staying in that, Stephen Kotler in his book, Stealing Fire, talks about attaining that flow state. You don't stay there for a long period of time, but when you're in it.
Well, that's why it's like stuff like, apparently we all of us have, there's certain avatars, certain athletes in our life where we're like, what is that like?
Right.
It's like when you see like Conor McGregor on top with the 2 belts and I'm like, I don't know if I want to ever experience that dragon.
Right.
Because he's always trying to chase that, but then you try to stay in it.
Yeah.
And then the dragon always gets faster and your cardio goes away eventually.
Right. Well, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room. At 52, being in flow is difficult. It takes preparation. My 2 hours prior to walking into a gym is all mine. And it is all about getting my mind ready to perform and my body ready to perform. And I don't necessarily need to be in flow for 2 hours, but man, if I'm in it for 2 minutes, oh baby.
For me too, I don't even know if you listen to music. I don't even know if I see headphones on you. But yeah, the certain song comes on or whatever that is, and it's like when those crosshairs line up and you can pop off those few shots right there, dead center.
Okay, let me tell you. So I have to wear earbuds, otherwise I invite conversation. Right?
I get it.
And I don't mind conversation, but the place that you and I serve our bodies, a gym, is my temple. It's my place that I worship. And I don't mind sharing the space, but sometimes in flow, I just don't see people. There are times I think I've walked past you and I didn't see you.
Okay? Oh yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
And it's not insulting.
No,
it's just that I'm in space.
Oh, 100%.
I'm
That's right. I
floating.
respect that. I don't need to talk to everybody every day.
No.
I respect it more sometimes when we don't, so we could part ways. Because as soon as we get into it, it's like, yeah.
Listen, we've had conversations that are like, hey man, I know you're busy. I know you got to run.
Yeah.
45 minutes later.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you're busy. I know you got to run.
I know one of us were like, dang.
But that's just the universe just putting us together
100%.
and 2 ships passing and saying, hey, let's engage. But I actually listened to something different in this understanding of life than in my younger years. In my younger years, it was Jay-Z, it was, Tupac, and
Speaking of, I think.
right?
Yeah.
Only God can judge me.
Yeah.
But that was an angry workout, right? It was, I needed to like resolve something. So I listened to cellos. I listened to piano music. because I'm in a flow. There's no anger. It is pure joy. It is an expression of like everything that I put into my preparation, it's an execution of. So I actually want to be calm. There's no rage in any of my workouts. It's pure calm execution of what I intended when I planned the workout earlier in the morning or earlier in the day.
I do. It's funny you say that because I'll change my music.
Yes.
Depending on the beginning and the end of my workout.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise you're stuck in the lip biting type of,
oh my gosh. I think about
depending on sleep, all that stuff.
Oh, listen, I walk into, so I'm a Audible listener to books. I devour 1.2 books a day because my free time is dedicated to knowledge. It's free, right? So you might as well impart the knowledge, have it come into you, and then you can share it with others. But I'll walk into the gym and I'm listening to a book. But because the book is holding me, I can't give into my workout, so I have to change it. But the moment I walk out, I'm back to the book. Yep. It's like a code switching. As soon as the door shut, I'm back to the book.
I notice for me too, like I'll listen to audiobooks or something along a podcast, depending on what it is. But like if I know I'm going to be talking or something, I'll listen to music. So I sing out loud. So I prep for it.
Yes.
But yeah, there's always it depends who's on the chessboard and who you're playing against, right?
Oh, okay. I mean, thinking of it that way, it really is chess. And sometimes it's multiple chessboards at one time.
Like have you ever seen the ones that the newer age ones that there's multiple levels?
Yes. Or you have a master that's playing multiple individuals and they're able to look at, okay, that one, that's that move. Not even looking and this move a piece. That's life, isn't it?
Speed chess on two boards and
on two
methodical
boards.
on the old school cat in the middle.
I think it's great. Like that's a great example of we search for this word called balance, right? It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It's a matter of where am I? What can I dedicate my emotion, my spirit to, my physical to, and then what has to maybe subside because I have to do this.
And then you have your flow, your tactical, and like we were talking about awareness. I was like, oh, I strained this a little bit today. Now I got to completely change everything. Playlist, this, that, and the other. It's not here for today.
Well, what's great is giving yourself grace to know that, okay, I can't pull. You know, we talked about you hurt your bicep. I can't do a pull probably for the next 2 to 3 days. And giving yourself enough grace to say, if I don't do this, I'm going to injure myself even more.
Yep.
And it just means, so I like to put myself in positions where I'm not good at something. Okay. I'm fortunately one of those athletes that if you show me something, I'll be able to do it pretty well. So I put myself purposefully in situations where it's foreign and I possibly could suck at it. So I took Pilates, a reformer class I think it was a week or two ago. And my goodness, all of these muscles got worked. And these women next to me, these aloe wearing, Lululemon, Athleta, bodysuit wearing, were killing me.
Killing. Not even sweating. And you're just
looking over me like, you look like you could do this, but you're struggling.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. So immediately I talked to a friend of mine and I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to need to come to your studio a couple times a week over the next month, because in those opportunities for growth, it's really where we find ourselves, right? If I always do Surba type workouts all the time, I don't grow, you know, and I'm not talking about muscle growth. That's irrelevant. I'm talking about growth spiritually, growth as a human being, and
getting rid of those spiritual dams. So you just have the energetic flow.
You said spiritual dams.
Yeah, like, because I feel like that's what happens is it's so easy on a metaphysical and physical level to like start creating pathways, and then those rivers stay either a certain size or we direct them, and sometimes that water needs to flow elsewhere. So then people dam up spiritually.
That, man, your visuals are incredible. I'm loving that. The spiritual dam it's probably a place where a lot of people find themselves because they define themselves. Hey, well, I'm X, Y, or Z religion, or I'm this, and never realize that sometimes those things are just guides and pathways for you to discover who you really are and not define yourself by what someone else said that you are.
Exactly.
Right? So when I say that I like to put myself in foreign situations that I'm not comfortable with, it's going to different churches. It's studying about religions that maybe I just touched when I took world religions in high school. Because I think we can learn from people who've experienced different journeys than us, right? I know you like to travel, and there's nothing greater than communicating with someone who doesn't speak your same language, right? And finding that true humanity in that person's essence. And be it Buddhist, be it Hindu, be it whatever, monikers we want to put on ourselves, we're really just human beings. And if we learn how to connect with each other, man, growth occurs.
Exactly. They're all vessels.
Just
Everything
vessels.
else is just labels and ingredients.
Oh man, I love that. Labels and ingredients. And not enough people really truly understand what those ingredients are, like what matters, right?
I feel the same way about movement patterns. The way I describe individuals, especially new clients, is like, hey, we're 10,000 string instruments. And those 10,000 string instruments, we're only playing 15 strings per song. And that's why our strings wear out.
Wow.
And that goes back to biomechanics. That's why I teach people how to make sure their pinky toe activates properly, because that counterbalances this, and then it can mess with their MCL. Or same thing with like energetic pulls. I'm like, what are your goals? You've been raising yourself like a bonsai, but you want to be a blue lotus. You got to be out on the lily pad. Like you have to be out. It's a completely different thing. But yeah, the 10,000 string instruments, like, so we can switch. Me and you can go to different sports, do different things. I'm also somebody that's naturally gifted and has the athleticism to be able to handle new sports and things like that. But yeah, we get smashed, but we don't get injured most of the time.
No.
And that's the difference, is because we can play more than those 15 strings, but we have the capability of tuning any of those 10,000 strings to play any music throughout the day. The next day could be a different tune, different song.
Wow.
So I just think of like a mandolin or something. It's just the essence of just being able to strum it, all 10,000. We're all just, people like ourselves are trying to figure out how to at least hit each and every one of those strings to our lifetime one time.
I'm going to sit with that, because as you're speaking, one, the visual is just absolutely amazing to me, but I'm also trying to apply it to one of the things that I'm super passionate about. Is just for our purposes, I'm going to call it nutrition, but it's the sustenance that we put into our bodies, right? That energy that feeds us. And I'm a plant-based human being who also eats fish, so I'm a pescatarian. And one of my superpowers is that I don't follow recipes. Again, it's a guide, it's a suggestion. So I remember in college, meeting a friend of mine who was an Italian exchange student, and he was in a linguistics class with me, and he said to me, I want to cook for you. And we had a party, and like most Italians, the party didn't start till 11, didn't eat till midnight. And I'm like, what the heck? But he made this thing called carbonara, and it's this egg-based, this dish, and it was the most delicious thing I've ever had in my life. And it taught me my first lesson that nutrition, food is love, right? So for the people that I love that are in my circle, my orbit, I cook for them. Find out what their interests are, whether they eat meat, because I'll make meat for you. I don't really care. I'll make it the most delicious thing you've ever had. My partner is, she eats complete opposite of what I do. I eat plants and vegetables. She eats meat. But I prepare hers with love, and I use no recipes, and I create. I'm the kind of person that can look in the fridge and say, we've got X, Y, or Z, let's make this. And it comes out exquisite. And I find that juxtaposed to a lot of people that are in my orbit, as clients, who go to a drive-through and eat plastic, right? And they wonder why they're sick all the time. They wonder why they suck down Monsters and other energy drinks at the beginning of their day, right? They wonder why they have autoimmune diseases. And I think if we go to that energy that we put into our bodies, one, it's filled with love. We talk about this energy and higher powers. But if you eat plastic and food adjacent, you get none of that.
Disrupting their endocrine system. They don't feed their mitochondria. Most people they don't even know what mitochondria is.
No, and they're pre-diabetic or diabetic and wondering why they're,
and they look at numbers too with, I'm not trying to hate on macro coaches or anything like that. I respect anybody else trying to help people, but sometimes then you see some of these coaches and they're drinking 3 Monsters a day themselves, or 900 grams or 900 milligrams of caffeine. And which I think it's a step. The way I look at like bodybuilding and macros, it's like, like if you look at Hermetic principles, you got 26 layers of consciousness. It's just a layer of nutrition, fitness, whatever. And if that's where you want to stop, great. Because I know once you start putting on that tinfoil hat and you get deeper and deeper into the weeds, you know less and less. Right. And that's where I think some of that comes into play. They turn into almost like the Barbie Ken doll type. They turn plastic, in my opinion, and then they train like concrete. So they just get more and more rigid. It's great though. I mean, you're still like some people, because I used to do nutritional microscopy where I could pinprick your finger and walk you through your blood under doctor's supervision, no malpractice. And yeah, so one of the things I noticed is some of them were just as unhealthy as somebody that was overweight.
Aesthetics doesn't necessarily define what the internal organs are, how they're functioning. I remember the first time I was awakened to, so in my industry, I've been a trainer for 20 years, and I'm friends with lots of trainers, lots of people in fitness and fitness adjacent. And there was a young lady at a gym that I worked out at who was the epitome of fit. I mean, if you wanted to strength train, she would outlift you. If it was cardio, you're getting worked. And I remember going to that gym and all the other fitness instructors were kind of sad because this girl passed away, like in her 20s. She was on so many drugs, right? Because she was searching for perfection, which doesn't exist. And she combined party drugs with steroidal drugs, and her body said, no, we can't handle this. And it was the first time I realized that I needed to stop chasing perfection. It was unattainable, and it was a journey that was going to result in depression.
It's a low vibrational loop.
Super low vibration.
It's like it's a circuit, but a very small circuit, and you have this massive circuit board that could be utilizing all the steps.
But also, we have to ask ourselves, like, what's the prize? Like, what's the golden ticket at the end of it? Nothing.
Nope.
It's, I've been lean most of my life, but I've been maybe prior to photo shoots or some sort of aesthetic competition, dangerously low in body fat. That's the worst place to be.
It is terrible.
The worst. You're hangry. You're hungry. Your blood sugar level is just awful. You look great, but you feel like crap. And I can't imagine if that's the end goal, feeling like that. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I recently was preparing for a photo shoot with a major brand. It was a couple of days down in Moab, and I spent 7 weeks just in a zone. Exercise, nutrition, all of it. But still having a business, still mentoring. I mentor kids and like staying focused with that, starting a relationship. And 12 hours prior to the shoot got rescheduled. And I said to myself, whoa, was everything that I did worth it? And it's that journey we talked about, right? The journey was more important than this thing that didn't even happen for me. And in that moment, I let it go. Like, this was more important. Me being able to manage all the balls in the air at one time and still physically feeling pretty good. That was a great lesson for me.
Right. It's always you get what you need.
You get, not what you
want.
asked for.
Or you can ask for it. Some people complain anyways.
Well,
it's the strength behind the burden of lifting.
And also getting out of your own way, right? I've learned, I used to think I was an island, just a man on an island. I didn't need the surf to come in to feed me. I didn't need ships to replenish my supplies. I was an island. And I probably had a tornado come through, a hurricane come through that island, and I realized I need community.
I used to work for the Human Garage in LA, and I don't like big cities. I'm not a big city guy. I like visiting them.
Yes.
I like staying there for a short period of time. I love culture.
Yes.
I love the diversity in big cities, but for me, I'm not a big city guy. Traffic ain't my friend.
Right.
Like in LA too, is like this artificial consciousness where people's thought they were these super enlightened beings and they didn't want to be your friend until they seen your following type of deal. And for me, I have a hard time. I'm not a big fan. So I'm like, I'm done with people. I ended up in the mountains in Oregon, 30 minutes outside of Port Orford, by myself in a tent for a little while before I went to start this job.
Yeah.
I realized I am a people person. That was gnarly. I have pictures. I'll show you pictures. Yeah, there's like black bears, all this stuff out there. Like I had to bury food in the dirt in a cooler down. But I was like, I'm so done with people. Once I got there, it was like day 2, and I was like, I guess a couple people wouldn't be so bad. I was turning on podcasts and putting a headphone in so I could hear somebody's voice once in a while. And I'm like, oh no, there's levels.
Right.
Yeah, you are not a level 10, chapter 35, book 3, sir. You are not Bear Grylls.
Well, how about this, though? You needed to escape, right? Whether your hiatus, your sabbatical, your cave dwelling time was going to be 2 years, 2 weeks, it was necessary.
100% necessary.
Right?
Made me appreciate,
It gives you. So I've taken that sabbatical, and I didn't set a time for how long that sabbatical would be. And it was probably the greatest thing I ever did in my life was to not have a buy date. It's probably the one time in my life where I didn't have an end goal, buy date, project is due by this, but I sat with what brought me to that space. And when I came out of it, mine took 18 months. When I came out of it, all the work that I'd done while I was on sabbatical created a peacefulness that I could never go back from. I can't go back to whoever that person was prior to those 18 months. That guy doesn't exist. And it was almost a rebirth for me. And I live in a different space in my mind as a result. But I needed to experience that. You and I use the same words, those deep, dark waters. Like, I don't need to know if there's sharks in the water or barracuda. I'm swimming. Mm-hmm. Bring it on. Mm-hmm. I have faith that I'm going to survive this.
Yeah, some people are like, aren't you scared? I was like, yeah, I'm scared every day.
Every
you ever get
freaking
choked
day.
out by a 17-year-old prodigy? I do all the time. It sucks. Yeah. But it's the same concept. It's like, you will never know unless you try.
You've got to jump in.
And just behind the fear of doubt and the shadow of doubt, you're going to find the great and brightest levels of your success.
but you're going to fail like 1,000 times before you get there.
Yeah. It's what is it? The like the glacier theory. Most people only see the top of the iceberg. You don't see all
The acreage below it.
I had to give a big shout out to our first sponsor. It's ASA Formula. It's a Wagyu tallow-based cosmetics. Tallow, if you don't know what tallow is, tallow by itself has natural vitamins in it. It has A, D, E, and K. And it also helps your skin produce collagen. As a man, stuff like coconut oil and other natural products can cause issues with clogging pores. And for me, this one works great. It's got rid of blemishes. It's got rid of some of the scars I have on my face because I tend to learn the hard way. Some of the other products they have too is going to be Pure Bum. This one's good for diaper rash or for chafing. We have bicyclists and different people, mountain bikers, skateboarders, different people using this for chafing. This one's also better for sensitive skin. And we just came out with a chapstick. So we have one called a pup stick for the dog's noses. And then this one here is for your lips in general. So tallow is going to be one of these products that's way healthier for your skin, no harsh chemicals. Everything's third-party tested and organic. I'll put a link in our show notes, show where ASA Formula, you could find it. You'll have my link, podcast link. It should be Justin 10, but I'll double check and put it in the show notes as well. So once again, thank you, ASA Formula, and thanks for listening.
You ever get because you're super fit. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and people who are dialed, who purposefully set the intention of what they're physically going to do, how they're going to intake nutrition. People think we eat cardboard, right? Or you don't eat. And I always think to myself, I probably eat more than you.
Mm-hmm. In your one meal.
Well, I'm an OMAD.
Yeah.
1 meal a day.
Yeah. I go back and forth through that. I love it too.
Yeah.
And I also is somebody that really loves to cook and don't plan it out.
Absolutely.
For me, it was my uncle used to give me ingredients.
Yes.
And he's like, what would you make with this?
Create.
This is how I started.
Yeah.
That, and you probably have survival instincts.
Yes.
And that's the difference there's a difference between like, I think survival in our culture and just like not having everything you needed and being able to use duct tape and salt to make something special.
You say that, and I've lived that my entire life. I grew up in a third world country. So
I was going to say, can we go into the beginning origin story a little bit?
Okay. So I am, as a survivalist, my birth was in Wisconsin. My parents were African exchange students that came to this country to better their lives. Father would go to medical school, mother will go to school of social work. They'll get their PhDs and chase the American dream, right?
So you come from a family of intellectuals?
Intelligentsia.
Yeah.
Every generation of my family has gone to some sort of graduate school. They are doctors, they are lawyers, they're diplomats, they're presidents of countries. Like, I come from people in my culture who are royalty. Royalty in my culture is landowners. Mm-hmm. So I come from people who chase excellence and always getting better. So I wasn't pressured as a child to be better. It just was, that's just who you are. Like, you're going to study, you're going to do well. So I'm born in the States, but then spend 7 years in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Freetown is a British colony. It's a free state that the British created for American slaves that fought for the British in the war. Okay, so they promised them freedom and sent them back to Africa, and created a trading post called Freetown. And Sierra Leone was created in the 60s. And I grew up in a country that was fairly new, but third world. So as a survivor, in the third world, you walk to get your food at a market that someone caught fish maybe earlier in the day. Other proprietors are, selling their wares. And then you walked miles back to your home. So I think early on, I knew that. So, I mean, we live in a culture where if you live a block from a local grocery store, you drive to that local grocery store and you walk up and down aisles of food adjacent type things. And I don't remember as a child seeing a refrigerator in the house. So what we had from the market that day became a meal that we would eat for the next 2 to 3 meals. And breakfast wasn't necessarily the food that you traditionally eat for breakfast. It was what you had for dinner the night before that becomes the next meal that you eat.
Breaking the fast.
Breaking the fast. Breakfast.
Yes.
Right? In a British colony, there's always tea. So I remember drinking lots of tea. And in Western standards, we would be poor. But in third world standards, we were loaded, rich. We had a house with a roof over our heads. We actually had employees. I mean, I had a maid as a child because in third world countries, there's strata, people who aren't educated and they work in someone else's home and they serve them, and the money they make then leads to, these micro economies, and they create themselves. So I knew I was blessed as a child, but I came to the U.S. again as a 7-year-old, and man, I came with an accent. It was African and it was British. It was proper, and kids roasted me, man. When I say roasted,
Kids are so brutal.
they're brutal, man. So I came to this country, went back to Wisconsin, and I believe in the second grade, I probably physically fought every child in second grade in my class because they roasted me, man. I mean, and unfortunately, it's just the culture that I came into in the early 80s. They didn't view Africans as worthy of their humanity. And
Was that here in Utah?
it's Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Sorry.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school and I was like, man, y'all aren't Christians. This isn't nice. And I didn't, at that point, I was this naive kid that I thought I loved, everybody, but they treated me poorly. And it took till maybe 4th grade where I got a teacher that let me excel, rewarded me for getting good grades. And I'd be the one writing on the chalkboard if she needed some instructions written. It was Mrs. Peterson, and she was amazing. And then everybody wanted to be my friend, right? I'm this African kid who speaks really well. I read the Thesaurus as a book. I read the dictionary for fun because I wanted to speak better than American kids. I just sought excellence. I never wanted to be in a room where someone referred to something and I had no clue what they were talking about, or a word that I just was over my head. So as that 7, 8-year-old, I sought out knowledge. So always a good student, go to high school. I go to an all boys prep school, and I would never send my child to an all boys school at any time because women are such an integral part of our culture that to not have them for 4 years in your most defining moments of your life creates misogyny. We are mouth breathing, misogynistic, narcissistic, awful kids.
We were just talking about that in the last podcast one of the last podcasts. It's like the worst troublemakers were always the private school kids, whether women or, they were the craziest.
Listen, I got introduced to alcohol, porn, all the isms in high school. And because I came from a good household and a mom that would have killed me if any of that stuff, went rampant, I was able to stay, I was righted and not fallen off at all. But it was a learning experience. And I learned to excel in an environment where other people were excellent. I was student body president. I was captain of teams. I was in every possible extracurricular you can imagine, from yearbook to debate to things I had no business being in, photography. And I got a great experience being taught by Catholic priests that were just open to teaching us about different religions and whatnot. But let me tell you, I go to school at the University of Michigan. I'd gotten like an academic scholarship. I'd come from this all-boys prep school thinking I was just a man. I get to University of Michigan and there's 40,000 of me. And the administration is like, yeah, we don't really care. You're just a number. And I was lost. So Justin, I went to Michigan and I took 12 classes of Michigan in the first year that I was there. I failed 6 and I aced 6. I had no direction. The guy that could talk to his high school English teacher and say, hey, I'm running behind because I've got a yearbook project, I've got a football game, and then I need to give a speech to the student body on Thursday and ask for extension. That college professor didn't care who I was. And I couldn't use this charm. And it was one of my first lessons in extreme failure. Michigan wrote me a letter and said, hey, bro, you can come back, but you got to take a year off and figure out what is it that you want, because we don't have students like you here. So you need to right this ship. I took a year off. I worked at Musicland, which was like a music record store, those things that people bought and put into a CD player. Yeah. And made $3.76 an hour. I couldn't afford ramen noodles, man. They were 10 for $1, and once a month I would add chicken to ramen noodles. Surviving, right?
I had canned chicken and Wassa crackers.
Wassa crisps, man.
When
Wassa
I first moved
crisps.
to Utah, that was it. Sold my vehicle, everything to get out here.
You bet. So I learned to survive, and then I decided to transfer. I decided that I didn't need to live up to other people's expectation of what excellence was. And Michigan, in my world, was like the Harvard of the North. It was great. And I transferred to University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, and immediately it clicked. No more academic scholarship. I'm paying for these professors who are teaching me, and I sit in the front row in every class. I actually schedule classes before 9 a.m. because I was sleeping through 9 a.m. classes prior to that. And I got on Dean's lists. I study economics, and I love school. So it took failure. That was probably the first example of a big failure for me to learn that, one, you sit with it. And I sat with that first failure for a year and then make a decision.
Did you follow, so going from one college to the next, did you keep similar classes, other than your general ed, or did you kind of change things up a little bit?
I went into Michigan wanting to go to law school and study international law because my family were diplomats, and I'd lived in other parts of this world, so I wanted to travel, and I can meet someone in an airport, not speak their language, and we're friends for life. I'm that guy. And quite frankly, I don't tell many people this, but I wanted to be a spy.
Oh, I get that.
I truly, it wasn't Bond-esque, but I could walk into a room, and because I feel people's energies, I know who I need to talk to and get the information that I want to get, right? So that was the dream. Law school, CIA possibly, and I'm filling out the CIA scholarship. So at there's a school in DC where the CIA recruits from. So I'm filling out this scholarship form, and my mother sees it on the bed in high school, and she rips it up. No son of mine is going to be in the CIA. And I'm pissed. But I wouldn't have been a good spy if I couldn't even hide the fact that I'm applying for the CIA from my mother, right? So I had to pivot, and I studied international law. And by the time I'd failed at Michigan, and for me, that failure was it was an engine for growth. I decided to pivot to economics because I decided that in the classes I took at Michigan, econ was like, it just made sense to me. Like, this is easy stuff. Why are kids dropping out of macroeconomics? Because micro is incredible and stats is great. And all of this kind of fed to what was logical, the way that I learned. And in college, I also took anatomy and physiology, and that paved the way for my second mountain that I could climb, and that would be fitness. But in college, I was hungry. So I took a lot of classes that fed my soul.
So going through college, you said that this was probably, other than moving here, it sounds like, would you say you had, the way I usually describe it is it's like I wouldn't say revolving. It's like you have like your gravitational pull pulls you to hard situations, and they could be cycles, like every year, every 3 years. They could be, throughout every 4 or 5. Would you say that you've maybe had, there's always something per year, per day even, but how would you say that there were big jumps in between those? Like maybe from when you moved back to the States, you go through that whole ordeal from childhood, and then the next one you mentioned is college. So what was the next? Did you have another one after that?
Of course, man. So while I'm in college, I'm working because, again, there's no scholarship. So my days start at 7 a.m. in college and they finish around 11 because I would go to the library after finishing work at night. And because I worked for a corporation that sold travel. They hired me before I actually graduated, and I became my boss's boss. So she managed me before I graduated. They hired me to manage her afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Because I told them I was applying to law school. And they said, well, let's give you an incentive to stay. So I skipped a couple levels. When you work and you're in school, it's like, it's the best course that you can take because real life will defeat the structure of school any day. Okay. Those books are usually, recommended by a professor that gets a kickback from that particular publisher. But the school of life was everything. So my employer recognized that I had excellent grades. I performed well, but yet I was also an incredible employee and I loved what I did. So I was in travel. I managed a call center for a good 5 years, and 9/11 happened, and it changed the entire industry. And I believe, oh gosh, it's a month later, I get called into a meeting with my boss, and he says to me, we need you to go to Salt Lake City. And I'm one of like 7 managers throughout the country, and I'm the only one that's single. So I realized I got to take one for the team. And the only thing I knew about Salt Lake was like the desert, Mormons, didn't really know mountains per se. I'd flown over Utah on my trips to Vegas because in travel, Vegas is a huge destination. But I came on this faith that whatever was going to happen, I would be able to adapt. So Justin, I had one of the moments in my life that I always go back to. The plane is landing, and if anyone's ever gone through Salt Lake or landed in Salt Lake on a flight, you land parallel to the Little Cottonwood and Big Cottonwood canyons. And I looked over. I luckily had a window seat and saw Big Cottonwood Canyon, and it blew my mind. Like, blew my mind. I came from Wisconsin, rolling escarpments, glacial farmland, and I was in Park City within 24 hours. There was something in the mountains that drew me. Mm-hmm. So the kid that went to college in a city, you talked about the city and the pull of the city. I played basketball. I lifted weights. I worked. That was who I was, right? I get to Utah and I'm in the mountains. Black people don't go to the mountains where I'm from because, there's a perception there's bears and, animals and you don't know. But I'm in the mountains and I recreate the version of me that at 7 climbed trees, chased animals, ran barefoot in our yard. And I became in my 20s that person that mountain biked, trail ran, climbed, skied, all the things. So it was a seminal moment for me in accepting I can learn new things. And if I surround myself with the right people, that will play a role in what the next year, the next 2 years, the next 5 years, 10 years, here it is 25 years later, what I can be.
And it checks every box when it comes to the type of individual you are. You create the flow state.
Yes.
You're winning.
Yes.
You're losing.
Yes.
And you're outdoors. So you're grounded.
Listen, dude, my feet are on dirt every day, which means I'm grounded to this thing, this rock that we're on, right? Which means that I slow my brain down, which means that I get grace for me, I get empathy for you, and I gain humility for whatever it is that is present in my space at that time. I don't listen to music. I don't have headphones on when I'm in nature because it's a symphony that's out there, man. The birds are chirping, the wind is blowing, and nature is alive. I often do, and I learned this early on, I go on one-on-one hikes with my friends, and I call it trail therapy. And it just vacillates. Some days it's me that's needing the therapy, and some days it's them that needs the therapy. But one of the projects that I'm working on is expanding that into a business, because what you and I are doing, men don't often do. Men don't sit vulnerably in front of each other and tell their deep, dark secrets because they fear they're going to be judged, right?
100%.
They fear that they have to live into this idyllic alpha male garbage that's out there, right?
A fragile persona of the mask and whatever it is created.
Fragile.
The fear of being unaccepted by yourself and others. That's something I heard. I think Heather might have posted something about it, and I seen it like a similar version, and that's it. It's like the fear of never being accepted, or the fear of abandonment. So you have this like 60 or 70% version of yourself, at most.
Yes. Let me tell you, man, the moments in my life where I'm the most vulnerable, I attract people who are the most caring. Because when the cape is on, that Superman, superhero, Surba, the big S on his chest, it's not relatable. People can't oh, that's amazing. That's really awesome. But when I'm vulnerable, that's when growth happens. And I find, we talked about these energy fields earlier. I find that I'm actually repulsed by men who wear those masks. Like, who are you trying to be? Be real. I go to different gyms. So I run into a guy who was at a previous gym, and we're talking. The guy's got like 5 kids, got a beautiful wife, and a beautiful girl walks past, and he says something about her body, and I think, listen, I actually have to tell you something. I'm not that guy. I'm here talking to you. I could care less if some beautiful 20-something, and you're in your 40s, by the way, is walking past you. So we're not going to have those kind of conversations. I don't do that. And what I love, though, is being able to transform a human being like that and let him see who he really is. And you don't have to be this tough dude all the time. You don't have to cry in front of me, none of that. But I cry every day. because I find opportunities to. And it's not always crying because I'm sad. It's tears of joy sometimes.
100%.
And you and I have talked about this. I will never come up to you and ask you how the weather is. I could care less about the score of whatever game that was played last night. I want to know how you're doing. Okay. There are times where I see you and you're in your own space and I just let you do. I let you do you. And there are other times it's just a hug, right? And that is, for me, more important than putting on those stupid masks that there are a lot of teenage bros in the gym that you and I go to, and they all put on their masks, right? They're wearing their tank tops, their pants, and their what is it, their sandals.
Yeah,
got the hoods on and the headphones.
Demonic looking shirts.
Demonic.
They got their little puppy dog insides.
Right.
Big muscles.
But they have to. They're hiding, right? And I just think to myself, I know what they see. They see this African American man with these big muscles. He's probably listening to Tupac, and they don't realize it's Tchaikovsky in these ears, man. Yep. I'm in my Matisse, Monet moments. None of it is angry.
Yeah, dude, I like this was a couple years back. Somebody's like, I was pushing 1,000 pounds on the sled, and they're like, "What are you listening to?" I was like, "Adele."
Listen,
I really was.
I'm a Celine Dion fanatic, right? And I remember I was at a conference, and another trainer came up to me and he said, "Hey, man, I saw you the other day. You were throwing this sled around. You had like 800 pounds on it." And one, I didn't see him because I'm in a tunnel.
Yeah.
But two, I was listening to two cellos because I was seeking flow. I can't perform with anger in my soul. Okay. That is exhausting. I've tried that.
It causes injuries too.
Oh, bro. That ego gets in the way.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, one more. Well, no. All you need is this 8 that you said you were going to do.
Yeah, I was like, who's this one more for?
What's this?
I did that today.
Who's this?
Yeah.
Who are you trying to impress?
Yeah.
And I've learned to be okay with, I came with an intent. I've achieved that. I likely have a second workout that I've planned for this day. Go home. Go do what you're intended to do next. But when our egos and these male alpha rah-rah, when those spirits get in the way, nothing good comes of it at all.
Just like their big old trucks cutting in front of you in traffic.
Well, that's in those moments that's when you have to recognize that's not for me.
No,
that's not the path that I'm meant to take. Or go ahead, big truck.
Yeah.
Take this lane. I don't need it.
Exactly.
We don't have to drive in the same pathway.
Like you said, you're on your own path. It just so happened you crisscrossed through the lane.
Listen, and I'm glad I was looking out for you, because if you would have surprised me, someone would have gotten hurt. But as we become more aware of our surroundings, what's in our environment, I see those big alpha trucks coming, and I just make way for them to keep on going down the road.
That's something I had to work on for myself, because I come from a long lineage of aggressive driving. And so that's something I always just like laugh at myself about. Or somebody's like, pull over. I'm like, I promise that's not the deck of cards you want to play.
You don't want to play that game.
I drive a little Subaru Outback, sir, but this is not a Subaru Outback driver.
Well, I don't. I apologize whether I committed the error or not.
Yeah, it's good to do that. That's
it means nothing to me.
No, it's not. It's the ego. It's to listen to those hard songs.
Yes.
Like I said, internally we want to train like bamboo as well. Bamboo or water, because it's like we were talking about it. A lot of those people have the grind culture.
Right.
Eventually you run out of material.
Yeah.
So if you can stay in a flow state or learn the flow culture, be the vessel, or like you are the vessel, but you can learn how to adapt like water. You can have times where you're the tidal wave. You can have times when you're the drop, and you can have times when you're the little river trickling through some rocks.
And it's okay because there's not scarcity in that energy field, right? I think I read something earlier on Instagram. It was like the universe isn't on a budget, man. That energy that you need, there's no budget for it.
Right.
It's endless. I think where we go wrong, though, at least where I've gone wrong in my life, is when I think I have to please other people and I'm in a hurry, right? So I'm running late for a client, or I'm running late for a party, and therefore aggressive driving, okay? Or I need to meet someone else's standards, aggressive. So now I'm all about habits. I create habits in everything that I do. My partner laughs at me. She creates a Surba voice about my habits, but they work for me. So if I'm running late, you know what I do? I text the person that I'm coming towards to let them know I'm running late. You know what the response is every time? 100%? Drive safely.
Exactly. Yeah. See you when you get here.
See you when you get here. So I'm considerate of this other human being that I've said, hey, I'm going to do this thing and I will be there at this time. But if the universe says there's a crash in front of you, or there's just 100,000 of us on I-15 at one time, I need to let them know I'm not rushing to come to you, because likely there's going to be an accident.
We were just talking about that too.
Right?
I was like, I think there was some road work and there was an accident over here. Like it's universal timing. When you're in alignment with your life, everything falls into place the way it should, whether or not you can see it sometimes. And then there's universal law too, because for every 2 people you cut off, 3 people are going to cut you off. And most people don't realize they just did the same thing.
Wow.
Like if I try to speed up and get in front of somebody, I'm like, no. 2 cars back. That was just you.
Right.
You're just projecting your own self onto this I-15 today.
The perception is everything, right? So if you see a car, the guy driving the Corvette and he's swerving, and you get behind him because you know that likely he's going to get the speeding ticket, well, you're that Corvette.
Yeah.
That the person in the minivan sees you as the Corvette. To prevent my poor driving, I actually put my Instagram handle on my car. So therefore,
just in case. I love it.
No.
So
like I'm responsible. I'm accountable.
Yeah.
So someone's going to leave me a message if I cut them off, or they see, like, I'm representing my brand.
Yep.
So I don't drive aggressively. It's like that truck that says, rate my driving. But you talked about needing to get somewhere and running late and being aggressive. I had a partner about 5 years ago who taught me a great lesson. Prior to that, I was just stubborn about being on time. And this partner that I had a aortic dissection, and it's the aorta exploded. So she had what she thought was maybe a heart attack, didn't really know what was going on.
That's crazy. She's still around.
Well, she died for 27 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
She died on the operating table for 27 minutes. And spent a year recovering from everything you can imagine as a result of her body just passing into death, and liver issues, kidney issues, you name it. So somehow we met, and she came into my life and she taught me this lesson. One day you could ride 100 miles and be Lance Armstrong. The next day you go to bed and it's not promised to you. So she taught me to slow down. She's a big skier, so we would go skiing a lot. And she's a better skier than I was, but I never let her know that. And one day we're headed up to Snowbird, and she had her ski bag, the skis, all of that, and she looks at me and she says, "Where are we going?" I'm like, "You decided we're going to Snowbird," but it didn't matter. Like, for her brain sometimes neurologically worked, sometimes it didn't. She was late that day when I picked her up. The lesson was, if it's important enough, who cares what time it is? Who cares where you're going? Be present. And I looked at her and I laughed, and I thought, okay, she's died. This is life. So engage with it. Be present. Enjoy the time that you have, because you're not promised. Like that light you're trying to speed through, someone else could be wanting to anticipate, and boom, they're writing obituaries. Okay. So the lesson that she taught me years ago, I implement now. And it's why I send a text if I'm running late. Or how about this? How about if I build in time so I don't have to rush? Right? We're overscheduling ourselves. You know, I got to take the kids to soccer, then I got to go pick up this other. Build in the buffer. Anticipate that the universe is going to throw you things that you're not planned for. So just deal with it.
100%. That's and just learning to have the capability in your mind, or like the skills necessary that are forged to create being okay. Because there's plenty of times where you could say it, but when it happens, you're like, okay, here we are. We're gonna have to be present, because that's all I can feel right now.
Let's talk about this. I know you read a lot. I know you're energetic. I know you're a man that feels everything, right? The good, the bad, all of it. How do you get through those moments where you've prepped for it, you've read about it, you've researched it, and the universe says, here's your test?
Some I fail. I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of scars on my face, and there are situations, but it's, for me, it's being able to grab on to the metaphysical reins in an aspect, and being aware of what the outcome will be if you decide not to do the thing, or you know, or if you step into like wanting to hit the steering wheel, or wanting to do this, or wanting to do that, or wanting to pull over, or do, you know, like whatever, you know, or wanting to not go to the thing, or,
right,
or just never start, or whatever it is that day. And then one of the things I tell myself, I was like, you asked for all of this. All of your choices leading up to right now have accountability. It's you. So if you have to figure this out. So like whether or not I think the puzzle I'm trying to put together, the Rubik's Cube, now has sharp edges and I'm bleeding everywhere. Yeah. I just try to give myself a second to breathe, and then I'll recalculate if I need to.
Wow. I'm getting emotional listening to you, because I've had opportunities to learn from my past patterns. And what you described is probably the most accurate application of what I think works best. And you said, I think metaphysically, we've talked about studying quantum physics and quantum gravity and whatnot, and it's incredibly powerful. If your audience hasn't explored quantum physics, quantum gravity, white holes, black holes, you name it, dive into it. But you said, I look at what would be the result if I didn't do this thing, right? Not emotionally, egotistically jumping into it and saying, I'm committed, you know, burn the boats. I'm making this decision, and I'm going to deal with it. Deal with the results with whatever that is. And I had an opportunity this last week where, man, I was level 10 livid about something. I mean, I don't get level 10 livid. I get upset. I get disappointed. And this thing had me heated, like my body temperature got heated. And because I read and research, and I've done work in slowing my brain down, I recognized that if I took a pattern that said, I'm going to flight, I'm going to get on that plane that Surba takes and says, I'll deal with you later. I'm going to go self-regulate, and I'm not going to deal with this issue that we're having. It's a pattern that I'm just in. It's a matrix. So what you described is what I did. I applied, if I didn't make this choice, what would be the result? And within seconds, Justin, I went from level 10 livid to a energetic calm, a peaceful water type calmness. You know, people who wakeboard go out in the morning before anyone else gets on the water. I had that kind of calm.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed a pattern that I'd never been able to break out of.
You went from the foamy undercurrent to just glass.
I was wake surfing on glass. I was in the green room. I was in this peaceful state that I could show myself grace. And that's something that in prior relations couldn't show myself grace. And when you're able to show yourself grace, you can show others grace.
It is. And it's like sticking to those tools that you're trying to develop, because sometimes you're the hammer, you're the nail, and you're forging. You know, you don't always it doesn't go from bending the steel to sharpening the blade.
No.
It's every step in between. And you
all
gotta,
of them.
And try to have awareness and a conscious viewpoint of what you ask for, because it's always going to come in trials and tribulations.
It's I read something recently where this individual, it's an example of what we're talking about here. This individual was stuck on an island and asked God or Heavenly Father, whoever, to send him, you know, something to get him off the island. And several occasions, you know, someone appears with a boat and the guy says, well, I'm waiting for God to come and help me. And then someone comes with a canoe. Well, I'm waiting for God. And God says at the end, you know, after this person asks him, like, why didn't you come to save me? Well, I sent you a boat. I sent you a canoe. And you're waiting for me, but that I was in all of those people that I sent to help you. And we often are wanting something, and we think the end result is this boat. We think it's the canoe, but really it's faith that if you ask for something difficult, you have to have faith that the journey to get there is worth it, right? We often ask for something and we expect the journey to be easy, right? So like, I want wealth, so I'm going to play the lottery. Well, wealth sometimes is just investing in the long game, right? And not buying that lottery ticket because you've got a 1 in a 300 million chance, which means you're donating to other people's taxes. Mm-hmm. So why not just buy an IRA or get a savings plan or become a real estate investor? That'll bring you wealth. And maybe wealth isn't monetary, you know. In The Alchemist, guy thinks that he's actually looking for gold, right? But it's not gold that's at the end of the journey. The end of the journey is this appreciation for another human being that enlightens you, that brings you joy that you've never had before. So it's understanding that sometimes the things that we ask for aren't really what you need.
100%. The Alchemist is such a good book. I was just looking at it on my shelf last night. I was thinking about picking it back up again. But every time I pick that up, I try to book like 17 trips everywhere I can go. And that's a problem. Next thing I know, I'm trying to be a rug maker. And
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Another one that you reminded me of, too, is like The Richest Man in Babylon. That's such a good book, too.
It's a great book. I think I read that soon after I read The Alchemist. But I'm going to tell you another one that's one of my favorites recently that I've read that is in the same genre of understanding that sometimes what we think we want isn't always what's meant to be. And sometimes your superpowers will get you through things that are possibly inhumane. It's a book called The Happiest Man on Earth by Eddie Jaku. And I was listening to this book. I was running on a trail, and it's the kind of book that stopped me in my tracks. I actually had to stop running because I was crying. There were 4 separate occasions where Eddie Jaku, as a Jew in the 30s, should have died. And I don't want to ruin it for people, but read the book. It's akin to Man's Search for Meaning. Same, like it's a Bible for.
That was my go-to for 4-hour hikes.
Listen, that genre, learning from people who suffered through unimaginable levels of suffering. If we don't learn those lessons now, we're doomed to keep suffering those types of lessons for decades and centuries to come. But Eddie Jaku finds himself on 4 separate occasions looking at death and actually should have died, but comes away from those experiences happy and peaceful and just joyful. So I look at my life and I always try to think, where's your gratitude? You know, if you find gratitude, you find everything else. Okay. Gratitude brings it forecasts joy and happiness.
And if you cannot find it, you got to create gratitude.
Absolutely, man.
Do you do the gratitude journal? Do you ever do any stuff like that? Where maybe yours is mantras, or I see the prayer beads.
Prayer beads, yeah. I don't have a practice of a journal for gratitude, but what I implement on a daily basis is if I feel gratitude, I express it. I have people in my life that I tell them I love them every single day. I mentioned earlier that I previously acted in my life as an island, and therefore it meant that I pushed people away, even my loved ones and my family. Having come out of a sabbatical, this cave-like dwelling, I now FaceTime my family on a daily basis. I connect with other human beings and show them love and gratitude on a daily.
I work on that with my family too, because we're not the most communicative
Right.
family. Like we're there to support each other. We always have a shirt for each other's back if necessary, but like verbal communication wasn't our strong point early on.
So knowing that, what do you do?
For me, I work on it, and I work on it daily with intention.
You bet.
Rather than trying to make it this brutal task. Because sometimes things that we create for ourselves that are good habits or habits in general can then start being starting to feel like it's either a prison or like a lashing or.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you this. I make it easy. I drive from gym to gym with clients or homes to homes. And in those 15 to 20 minutes, I FaceTime my family.
There you go. That works.
I make it easy.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of I'm fatigued at the end of the night because I've had a 10, 12-hour day, I call them throughout the day. And I've learned when they're available, right?
Yeah.
So my brother that lives in Florida is 2 hours ahead, so I call him. I can call him pretty early. I just don't call him late when it's 11 or 12 where he's at. My sister, I call during the day. She's available then, and she lives in Wisconsin. I mentor a young man that I call my son, and he's working till 2, 3 in the morning, working on a project that we're working on. So I don't call him first thing in the morning, but I'll message him. And he's probably the one individual in my life who, regardless of how busy we are, will always say, I love you before we end a conversation. And I think to myself, wow, just those words are impactful.
So impactful.
They're so impactful. If you can, just saying them means that you actually feel it as well. Because I don't use that language if I don't feel it. But I make sure that I make connection, and therefore gratitude is a piece that's always present in my life. Every day, all
And
day
it's
long.
just like the gym. Sometimes it's not easy.
It's
It's not an easy process.
Right.
And it's hard.
Do you ever get selfish?
Every day I try to be a little bit because I'm a giver.
Do you feel bad for being selfish sometimes?
It depends on if I set a boundary or not.
Right.
So if I set a hard boundary, not so much. But if
Right.
I didn't, have that tendency to do that ego rep.
Dude. I've learned that it's okay to, I said the word selfish, but really it's self-care, right? It's taking a moment to recharge so that that endless energy field that you offer people never stops, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I find that if I'm giving too much, and let's be frank, to the wrong people, I'm exhausted and I have to self-care. It's important to know when you need it and not to feel bad about it.
Exactly.
That's where I'm at, and I'm perfectly okay with it.
And I feel like that could be to yourself too, because if you're feeding the wrong wolf or the wrong habits, then you're not being a good provider for yourself. And
You're not
that
being
could be an
authentic
issue
to
too.
you,
Yep.
Justin, right? It's
Exactly.
the authenticity,
Yep.
living incongruently.
Mhm.
Because if you create those patterns of living incongruently, you find yourself weeks, months later, and you're not who you are.
Exactly.
You've lost yourself. And that's the worst place to be.
Exactly. If you're alone in a room, you're lonely, or you're not enjoying yourself, you're in bad company.
I actually don't know what that feels like.
Exactly. I wasn't sure if you did. Yeah.
I'm a person so I love humans, but what you described in those mountains, in Oregon, that sounds really awesome, man.
It is. You just gotta be ready for it. I was ready, but I wasn't ready.
Sure.
Yeah. But it shows you what you need to see. That's that spiritual compass.
Yeah.
It's not always pointing north.
No, it's not always pointing north, but you just got to walk the steps that are
Yeah.
required for you to get to
Exactly.
to where it is that you're meant to be,
100%.
and to meet the people that'll accompany you on that journey.
Exactly, which super blessed to meet you. I think we're going to do a bunch of podcasts, so I might have to cut off there for the sake of our listeners. And I know Travis has some other stuff to do today too.
Absolutely, man.
So I usually give maybe 3 tips to the audience that has helped you through your life.
3 tips. Okay. First thing,
And feel free to talk into the...
here's the first thing. I'm going to use another analogy. If we were going to sail from, say, San Francisco to Hawaii, get a map. Know where your destination is going to be, because the journey is far longer than it needs to be if you don't have a map. So that means that, find an expert, talk to people, set intention on where you want to be, when you want to be, and how you want to be there. Because otherwise you're floating blind, you're flying blind, you're lost. So that's the first thing, is to get a map, understand where it is you want to go and how you want to get there. The second thing is seek out connection in every opportunity that you have in your life. We can be solo, we can be lone wolves, but even animals have packs, and everyone plays a role, and they survive together, and they survive well. One of my favorite type of animal is an orca, and they're the most intelligent alpha hunters in the ocean, and they all know their role. So when you find a pack, you learn where you fit into that pack, and you do the thing that you do really well, and you excel. The third thing is, it's what we actually just talked about, is finding gratitude every day in your life. So if you have a map, if you find community, and if you have gratitude, you're someone that other people want to be like and be around, because you add to their lives. So that's probably the formula for me that has worked. And I think it could work for you as well.
Thanks, brother. That was powerful.
Thanks, man.
Now, where can they find you?
Mainly, I put out my information on Instagram at Surba Fit, SURBA Fit. And I share books that I read. I share fitness, crazy, exceptional, like just creative exercises. And then I just share goodness. You know, if I'm on a hike and I'm in a waterfall, I share that. So if you want daily inspiration, Surba Fit is the place on Instagram to find me.
Once again, that's Surba, not Subra. I got in my own head. This is the only podcast that I think I felt a little embarrassed because I was telling myself, I was even talking to Travis, and I'm like, it's this, not this. And as soon as I sat down, I was like, it is neither. I'm just going to make shit up right now. Anyways, it's a pleasure, brother. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. And once again, this is Just in Our Minds. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day, everybody.